Hello, and welcome to Adapt Productions of Chicago. I'm Joel Margolis, your host, and with me today are two longtime veterans of disability rights activism, Susan Aarup and Shelley Barry, both of whom have been deeply involved in fighting for the rights of disabled people. It's my understanding, Susan, that one of the organizations with which you've been working is called Independent Voices.
Yes.
Could you tell us a little bit about what Independent Voices is and what it does?
Independent Voices is part of a group that's affiliated with Access Living, and its main focus is for people who've been in nursing homes and have gotten out of nursing homes. So now they're in the community. So these folks have been, and they're transitioning from nursing home life to being in the community.
And Independent Voices is at the center of helping them get out of nursing homes and live independently?
That's part of a program that's a transition program called the Community Reintegration Act.
Community integration. I understand. Now, I think many of us in the disabled community have heard about deplorable conditions in nursing homes, and we certainly know that there are disabled people who have been very happy to get out of nursing homes.
Yes.
And there are many who are now living on their own with some assistance. However, anyone who reads a newspaper, even only once a week, leave alone more often, knows that our current governor, Rauner, is proposing some very serious budget cuts.
Yes.
Shelley, what's going to happen to those who were formerly in nursing homes, now living independently, if some of their home services are cut?
Well, unfortunately, the worst part about it, many of them may end up back into nursing home where they're not taken care of, or actually many of them would prefer to stay on the street. They will have no medical assistance, no home care, and you've actually heard of some that may actually die.
Did I hear you correctly when you said Rauner's proposed cut could mean loss of home services to 10,000 people?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Now,
Because currently there are 30,000 people on the home service program.
and of those 30,000, 10,000 might lose.
Because they have a score that's less than 37.
On the determination of needs?
Yes.
I understand. Shelley, faced with this type of very severe possible loss, what have disabled rights activists been doing to try and fight it?
Right. Well, we've actually personally we've had many protests about the cutting of home services. We've actually also did a protest where we went to the governor's home and actually held a protest there. We have to let them know how important it is. We've had many Springfield trips where we spoke with legislators, and that we just can't and won't stand for the budget cuts. We can't.
So you've had at least one protest, if not more, literally outside the governor's home?
Yes.
Okay.
One.
And I understand that there have also been protests
Numerous.
in Chicago?
Numerous protests.
And these cuts are affecting everyone, not just home services. We're talking mental illness, we're talking child care, we're talking the whole gamut.
Cuts of all kinds.
Yeah.
All right. Now, if someone who is disabled or has a disabled family member would like to get more involved, possibly attend a demonstration, whom should they call, or what website can they visit?
They can visit the Access Living website at www.accessliving.org.
And there's information there.
Yes, and then they can also contact Amber Spock.
Okay.
Amber Smock.
Amber Smock at Access Living?
Yes, she's the Director of Advocacy.
Director of Advocacy. Thank you. That sounds like someone definitely.
And our number is 312-640-2100, and just ask for Amber Smock, and they would direct you. I just gave the main number, and then they would direct you to her individual line.
So the key phone number here is the 312-640-2100?
Yes.
Okay. Now, I understand that there's been at least one demonstration at the Thompson Center, and I believe that we at Adapt Productions have some film footage of that, which we will try to share with our viewers.
My name is Shelley Barry, and I'm here today to talk about home services. You know, I'm a disability right advocate, and I was getting home services. I was receiving it 4 times a day for 5 days a week, and after a while I was hospitalized. And when I tried to go back to restart my home services, it was actually told that I was no longer eligible because I had been in the nursing home. I was put in the nursing home for about 6 months, and I had tried to speak with the persons there and restart my case, but and, you know, now they constantly telling me I have to restart, and I've been hospitalized over 30 times within the last year. And the first thing I want to say is about nursing homes. We're not talking about decreasing people out of them, we're talking about shutting them down. People are not treated right, and I've actually experienced it myself where we've been left in the bed and not attended to and actually left wet for hours at a time. And the only way they treat you right is if your family comes or if you have visitation from outside members. Another thing I wanted to talk about is Medicaid and Medicare. Well, they're talking about cutting, as you know, they're talking about cutting their home services and decreasing the payment for medicine. Well, here it is. At one time, I was receiving help for my medicine. Now, even though I'm on a fixed income, I have to pay $300 a month just for my medication. This doesn't make any sense. How am I supposed to pay that amount? It's either choose between getting sick or paying my bills. And the last thing I want to do, because I can't pay my rent or I have trouble paying my rent, is end up, ironically, back on the street or in the nursing home, which I told you I refuse to go through again. We talked about Rauner budget's cut, you know, his proposed budget cut. And here I have a list about, you know, what he's talking about doing. With the home care service cuts, Rauner, his stress is, he's talking about cutting 10,000 to 3,000 people with disability that use all of these services. They're talking about the message will be changed. People with primary diagnosis such as mental illness would also be stopped from the program. And cutting home services will cost the people more money because it actually costs more to live in the nursing home or medicine than using the other programs to be put in place. We're not talking about, we just need to stop the budget cuts once and for all. We also talked about the community care program, and this is the program that seniors use, okay? And all seniors will lose their hours, maybe whatever services they use as far as people coming out, they help them also, home services. Well, their program will also be stopped. Ironically, people with the nursing home, many of them would literally either end in the hospital, or some, unfortunately, you hear some people actually dying because they don't have the services. We also talked about people doing protests. It's actually important that we just don't sit back. We just don't sit back and say that it's okay, that we accept this. People need to get together and get the word out there. Unfortunately, you see many people that are intimidated, but we need to be out there and stay out there for a person that can't do it themselves, okay? And let them know that we will not go away until these changes, until the changes are made. So anything that people can do, any support, whether you can make it out or not, if you just have to call your governor's office, if you have to get in contact with your alderman or any politician or even support groups, that's something that we need to do, and let them know that we will not go away until things change.
I just don't think that Rauner has really thought out the budget cuts. One of the main points that I think is not so smart is the cuts to help the homeless youth. I'm a mother, and I know about teenagers, and they don't often make smart decisions. And if a teenager is hungry, they'll probably, and they don't have options to go to a shelter or get the services that they need, they'll probably do dumb things. They might steal. And the next thing you know, these children who have options to make their lives better will not choose to do so because they don't have that as an option. So they'll just choose to do things like steal or prostitute themselves or do other things that are illegal, and then they'll end up in jail, which of course will cost the state a lot more money than getting them the services that they need to make better choices.
I'm here because Bruce Rauner just is not being nice. He's like taking homeless people, and he's got to understand there's children out here that should be having homes. Hey, hey. Oh, oh.
And I don't know anybody who at one point or another didn't need extra help in their life. So, you know, I think it would be selfish, and I'll go so far as to say ignorant, to think that, you know, you can just take away supportive services from people and think that it's not a big deal. So that's why I'm out here today with some awesome people. So.
Yeah. I'm here because Bruce Rauner is trying to cut back on help for the homeless people. I myself am homeless with my 10-year-old son, and unfortunately my husband couldn't be here because he has to work, and we're on a program that will help us get out of where we are, and he wants to cut back on that. So we're just here to tell him, no, you can't do that to us.
I'm here today to speak to you about the $1.6 billion cuts to Medicaid that Governor Rauner is proposing. I've already experienced what Governor Rauner's cuts would feel like because I temporarily lost my Medicaid benefits earlier this year. I rely on Medicaid for all my medical treatment and prescriptions. Without it, I wouldn't be here speaking with you today. I was diagnosed with Hep C last year, but I've had the disease for over 50 years, all because of a tattoo in Hong Kong. I won't go there again. Because of Medicaid, I've received treatment, and now there's no trace of the disease at all.
All right.
Without Medicare, I would have had to pay over $250,000 out of pocket. That's impossible. When I lost my Medicaid coverage last year, the first thing that came to my mind was a homeless shelter, because I wouldn't be able to pay for my already subsidized senior housing. And my medication and food would have been a coin flip. One of them would have had to go.
Yeah.
We're here today. We're here to tell him today that a true leader would be talking about revenue and no cuts.
Right.
Yeah.
There are so many revenue plans out there that he could be talking about, such as the progressive income tax or the financial transaction tax. We're going to tell you more about both of them and other revenue ideas in front of the governor's penthouse. Now, who's ready to march with me over there? Hey, brother, listen up! We don't want your budget cut! Hey, brother, listen up! We don't want your budget cut! Listen up! We don't take your budget cut! Rauner, listen up! We don't want your budget cuts! We don't want your budget cuts! We don't want your budget cuts!
One of the things that I've encountered in efforts to speak up to preserve services to the disabled and people in need in general is I endlessly have encountered politicians who say something such as, well, we would like to help you, but there just isn't the money, okay? And I've heard that again and again and again and again. So my question is this: instead of accepting that excuse or trying to point out that there's money elsewhere in the budget, is there any reason why disability rights activists should not propose new sources of state revenue to legislators?
Yes, we are. We are always saying to raise revenue. Yeah. There's a Fran Tobin, who is part of the Northside Action for Justice, has an excellent presentation about how you can raise a financial trade tax on each of the trade commissions.
A proposal to raise taxes on trade commissions.
Right.
Yeah.
And for more information on that, someone could look at...
They can look at the Northside Action for Justice website.
Northside Action for Justice. If they Google that, they'll find a website?
Yeah.
Sounds good. In addition to that, is there any reason why there shouldn't be, for instance, proposals for taxes on certain luxury goods and the money then earmarked for the disabled? Could we suggest that?
Well, they have been, there's been such a thing with the casinos. They've been trying to do that.
They have been trying to tap into revenue from casinos?
And we'll see what happens with that.
Now, in some European countries, such as the Netherlands, marijuana has been legalized and it's taxed quite heavily, and that brings in quite a stream of revenue to the government, which helps support the very broad range of social services in a country such as the Netherlands. Would it be possible, in theory, for groups here in Illinois to propose something like that, a legalization of...
I wouldn't know that for sure. So
So that would be something that would have to be discussed.
Exactly.
Now, if somebody who is disabled or has a disabled family member has some ideas about new ways for raising revenue to help services for the disabled, whom could they call or who could they write to suggest the idea?
Michael Madigan.
Write to Michael Madigan at the state capitol in Springfield?
Yeah, and you could also write to his district office.
To your district office for your state legislature.
That's Michael Madigan too, because he is a district office. He is my representative.
All right. Okay. Sounds very good. And Shelley, can you please tell me? I believe you work at Access Living.
Right.
Okay.
I'm a
Are you
volunteer.
there on a full-time basis?
No, I am actually a volunteer at Access Living.
And
but,
what does your volunteer work there involve?
I'm a disability activist, and as we spoke about earlier, helping persons part of Independent Voices. I focus on helping getting people out of nursing homes and staying out of the nursing home back into the community. I've also worked with DAWN, which is an organization that
Disabled
Americans want work now.
All right. You're involved with Disabled Americans Want Work Now.
Right.
And does that group do simply what its name implies, help disabled people find work?
Right. What the main focus on that is have them job readiness. We focus more so on job readiness, and we have persons come in from the outside to continue doing workshops and teach people how to write resumes and different like interviews, and also what jobs are out there for disabled persons. Right.
Does it also make any efforts in terms of trying to lobby or persuade large employers to hire more disabled?
It's an advocacy group.
It is advocacy as well as job readiness.
So we focused on employment first and ending sheltered workshops.
Sounds very good indeed.
Yes.
Okay. And in line with that, I'm wondering, have you ever met any state representative or state senator who has actually lived in a nursing home for a while?
No.
Neither have I.
No.
Okay. Would it be possible to challenge some state legislators and say to them, we want you to live in a nursing home for 1 month and see how you react?
And see, that's exactly what I've spoken on before. I say, myself, I've been in a nursing home, and they take away everything from you, but they give you $30 a month.
$30 a month?
$30, right? And you're expected to live from that. And to go back to what you were saying, I say, let the legislators come and live off that amount, and see how they'll make it.
So in the nursing home situations you've been in, in addition to the nursing home providing room, board, and nursing care, you were expected to meet a whole variety of personal expenses on $30 a month.
$30 a month, and as well as I was not taken care of. I was physically just left wet for many times, wasn't fed or anything. So let the legislator come and empathize with that. I'm sure after a long time they'll have a different mindset and willing. So
I very much think you're on to a powerful idea, and perhaps one day all three of us might be standing in front of a demonstration saying that we challenge the following legislators to live in a nursing home and see how that react. How does that sound?
Yeah, you definitely
I want to reiterate something. This is a statewide thing. It's not. We're not pitting groups against each other. We can have no cuts to services because these are affecting people's lives.
This is statewide, And this affects the lives of thousands and thousands of people.
Yes.
Yes.
I hear you very
Yes.
clearly. And I hope our listeners today have heard very clearly some of the very, very committed efforts that both Shelley and Susan have been making on behalf of the disabled, and I suspect will continue to make these efforts for a long time to come. Am I correct?
Oh,
Yes.
definitely, yes.
Thank you both for coming.
Yes.
And thank you for joining us today at Adapt Productions of Chicago. I'm Joel Margolis, and please visit us again here in our program on CAN TV. Goodbye, just for now.
Thank you.